Welcome to the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. She Speaks to Inspire is an empowering public speaking podcast for women with public speaking fear. Unlike other podcasts on public speaking, She Speaks to Inspire not only gives you tips to be a confident communicator under pressure, but also helps you regulate your nervous system for less anxiety, learn lifestyle practices to reduce burnout and overwhelm, and reconnect with your feminine leadership presence for more authenticity and comfort in your skin. I believe it's the quiet ones, especially the quiet women, who have the most important ideas. I believe the world really does need your voice. So let's dive in. All right, we're here today to talk about the best way to get out of your head without scripts or excessive rehearsing. Yeah, because tell me, have you been feeling like you're stuck in your head? Say yes in the chat. If you feel like you get stuck in your head when the pressure is on and the spotlight's on you, and there's a feeling of, I need to perform now. I mean, I feel it a little bit right now, right? As soon as I see that live red button, we are live. It's the show is on, right? So do you get up in your head as soon as that spotlight feeling comes on and get sort of stuck up there? And are you using scripts and excessive rehearsing as a way to get out of your head, as like your strategy? I've talked a lot about that in some of my earlier videos. So if you haven't seen them yet, I recommend that you watch the 2 videos from last week as well, because it'll unravel this even more. But today we're here to talk about what makes introverted women different when it comes to public speaking. That's important. This is going to help you get out of your head. And why other trainings might not be working for you. I mentioned this a little bit in my last video, but again, I'm going to go deeper here. I'm going to take it from a different angle. And then we're going to talk about how to prepare for high stakes speaking moments in a way that actually works to unravel anxiety, to be seen as a leader, because that's the last piece we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how to be seen as a leader and taken seriously, even if you're young, or even if you come across as young. I hear this from a lot of women, especially introverted women, especially in the Bay Area, by the way, because there's a lot of younger people here that end up in management positions or leadership positions in their companies, or starting their own companies as a startup. I have several startup founders as clients right now that, they are young, they're like 23, 24 years old, but you can still be seen as a leader. You can still be taken seriously. And let's talk about how to do that. Okay. So I would imagine if you're looking for this information around, how do I find my confidence? How do I overcome nerves and fears of the spotlight? How do I get out of my head? If you're looking for that information, then you probably have looked around at public speaking trainings that are available to you, whether that's in your area or you've looked online for courses. So let me share with you a little bit about what I see other public speaking trainings do and what I see in the industry. And let me reiterate that I used to work for a lot of the big training companies in the Bay Area and actually in the country. And I've traveled around teaching public speaking trainings all over the country. And I've taught a lot online to people all over the world. So I know how the whole public speaking industry works, generally. And I know a lot of people in the game, so to speak. And so this is what I see that they teach and what they do. Well, they're going to teach you generally best practices. It's going to be a whole bunch of best practices. Things like, if you do this with your hands, it will come across like this to the audience. If you say this phrase, you will have this impact. If you move your eyes in this particular way. Yeah. And I teach these best practices too. I know them all. Excuse me. I know them all, and I hopefully practice them all. And they are effective. I'm not dissing best practices. They actually are really good to know. But the issue is not about the knowledge, because you could actually get some books. I'm looking over at my bookcase. I have some great books on public speaking, and I can just read all the things that I'm supposed to do. That's not the issue when it comes to public speaking. We're going to get to that issue in just a moment. But in these public speaking trainings, they teach you the best practices, and it can end up being a little robotic. Me inside myself, subconscious of applying this new skill. Yeah. And a lot of public speaking trainings will teach you to rehearse as a way to get better, as a way to prepare, as a strategy. That if you rehearse like actors do, then you're going to have it down and you're going to do it the best you can. Yeah. I have an expression on my face right now. I can tell that's a little bit negative because I don't agree with this approach. And I'll tell you why in just a moment, but it is an approach that I see taught a lot in public speaking trainings. And also public speaking trainings will teach you to script out what you're going to say, to write it out. In fact, I have worked for a training company that actually employs a script writer. So that at times I would have a client that would be working with the script writer and would be working with me, so that they would come into a session with a script that they needed to memorize and then figure out how to deliver. I know how that goes when you're trying to bring a script to life. Well, and also because I studied acting, right? You're given a script and you have to bring it to life. That's the job. And a lot of public speaking trainings also will tell you just to stop doing filler words, stop your ums and ahs. Toastmasters, for example, I talked about Toastmasters last week. That's one of their things. They literally count out how many filler words you have in your little presentation. Yeah. And that could be useful to know how many filler words you have. Yeah. And it brings your awareness to it, right? There are definitely pros to this strategy of all the things that I just shared. But let me share with you, you're already probably getting a sense of it, why I think that these strategies of being like rehearsing over and over again, of scripting everything out, of eliminating and counting filler words, of learning best practices and robotic public speaking skills, why I think these don't work, especially for introverted women who are prone to anxiety, that have a history of public speaking nerves, and even have that public speaking PTSD from traumatic public speaking experiences where they tried to express themselves, where you tried to express yourself and you got shut down, you got rejected, you lost your way, so to speak, that you lost your words, you blanked out, and it can be really traumatic. Okay, so these things don't work for those kind of people, for those especially kind of women, because these practices that you would learn in a public speaking training amplify perfectionism, self-consciousness, and they perpetuate a mindset of, I need to put on a show. Does that make sense? So if we're buying into that philosophy, that perspective, that value system of, when I am in the spotlight, I need to be perfect. When I'm in the spotlight, I need to have it all together. When I'm in the spotlight, I need to be exceptionally poised in every way. Yeah. Tell me you haven't felt that way, right? I totally grew up with this mindset. I totally did. My mother still runs this mindset. I love her, but she still runs this mindset, that you have to be put together in order to be accepted, in order to be appropriate. Yeah. Yeah. So these kind of trainings, the practices that they teach, the things that I already mentioned, will amplify that perspective of perfectionism and putting on a show, which, if you can just see the progression of where this would go, that's going to amplify, increase, and like almost solidify your anxiety, your nerves. Because if you have to be perfect and you can't remember the next word that you wanted to say, that's terrifying. You're failing, right? You are failing at your own value system. Failure, 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 right? That's intense. No wonder it's traumatizing when you speak, right? And if you are up there and you have just been taught to move your hands in this particular way or use your eye contact in this particular way, and you can't do it because you're nervous, because you can't remember what you were going to say, or whatever it is, you just can't do it, then failure, failure, failure again. Oh, yeah. And over time, there's this identity that just builds up, that this is who I am. I guess I'm not good at public speaking. I'm shy, I'm introverted, I'm quiet. I feel more comfortable in the background. And then what do you miss out on? Let's be honest. What do you miss out on? You might miss out on a promotion. You might miss out on building your reputation at work. You might miss out on a bunch of sales and helping a lot of people. You might miss out on that funding for your startup, right? Because there was you were stuck in the failure mode. I'm not living up to my values, my standards for myself, that perfectionism. Ooh, that's heavy. I also want to say that these practices, this approach that I see in a lot of public speaking trainings doesn't work, because the truth is, the deepest truth is, an audience is inspired and engaged the most by being able to feel you, not by getting good information, not by you being perfectly put together and poised, not by your data being perfectly correct. No, your audience is inspired and engaged the most if they can feel you. They can feel your passion, they can feel your care, your desire, they can feel your intention coming through, because you're letting it ooze out of you in your full expression. Does that make sense? So let's talk about what to do instead, right? Enough of this doom and gloom failure stuff. Let's talk about what to do instead. Okay, this is what I suggest to do instead. First of all, you're going to have an idea of what you want to say, right? That's always good. And I talked a lot about content in my video from last Monday, I think. So start with an idea of what you want to say, and you can build an outline if you want. You can have a clear intention. Have an idea of what you want to say, but not a script. Back off of scripting. And then do your speaker's warm-up routine before you speak, maybe in the morning, to shift your state of being from everyday mode, which is for us introverts, head down, in my own little world, not really wanting to interact with others and not wanting to be interrupted. Is that just me? Oh, like you're shifting your state from introverted mode to flip the switch. I am ready to extrovert. You will never be an extrovert, but you're in extroverting mode. Yeah. And the shift also is here from, our introverted mode. We like to get all the details. We like to, I think there is a little perfectionism as part of introversion. Like I want to get it right. I want to complete it. I want to do it well. And that whole process feels really good to me as an introvert. However, in the extroverting mode, there's no more time for all that reflection and, tying up loose ends. you just got to act. So you got to let go of the perfectionism and detail orientedness and just flow like I am right now. So there's that shift of state. And really the only thing that can get you there as an introvert is to have a warm-up routine, to have something you do to shift states. Okay. Then as part of this process, as part of growing your skills, instead of learning a bunch of practices, I want you to train yourself to be in a flow state and to know what that feels like, to get comfortable there. It's a little scary. Like you don't know what's going to come out of your mouth next. You don't know what's going to happen. It's a little scary. It's an introvert's really worst nightmare, but I want you to get comfortable being a little uncomfortable. That's training yourself to be in a flow state. And this will help you unravel the conditioning from a long time ago, whatever you received. I received it from my Catholic Italian mother and grandmother, to have it all together, to wear your pearls and cross your legs, and all the ways that I learned to put myself together. I start to learn to unravel that and trust myself a lot more, trust my intuition, trust my impulses. And so this allows you to show up 100% and shine your authentic you, because that is all really that you have. Well, good news, you have it all the time. All right. You get to let yourself speak from your expertise that is already there. Thank goodness. And that'll help you speak off the cuff, on the fly, with ease. Yeah. And once you do this, like I already mentioned, you're going to start to develop trust with yourself. That is gold, because it never goes away. Once you learn to trust yourself in this way, it really never goes away. You might get shaken by something for a moment, but then you're like, oh, wait a second, I got this. And I've had that happen before. I go to a bigger audience, or I'm intimidated a little by one person. But when I get into that flow state, all that drops away. And you'll be much more relaxed. That anxiety just starts to fall away, calm, centered, even if things don't go as planned. Because again, you trust yourself to be able to go with the flow. You're going to be seen as more confident and as a leader, given more responsibility, more opportunity, respected and valued, because people can feel, this is the feeling part, right? The unconscious thing that they can feel underneath of your presence. They can feel that you can be trusted, that you trust yourself, that you can be trusted, right? Okay, she's got this. She's got this. She's got the expertise, but she's also, she's just got something, I don't know, something about her that I get the sense that she knows what she's about. She knows what she's doing, right? Even when she doesn't know what she's doing, I trust that knows what she's doing, right? That's the kind of confidence that makes you be seen as a leader, no matter how young or old or what gender or race or whatever you are, right? It's about that core thing that you're exuding. And if we fast forward just a little bit, maybe 6 months to a year from now, imagine that you've made this shift. You've clarified what you want to say. You've done your warm-up regularly to shift your state. You are building trust with yourself and training yourself to be in that flow state, unraveling conditioning little by little and showing up 100% to shine, like I was talking about before. What would become possible for you? Yeah, what would become possible? Well, back to the title of this, I would bet that you're going to be out of your head a lot more, in that flow state a lot. And that's going to lead naturally to visibility opportunities. You're going to either take the opportunities that are there for you, you're going to be all in for them, or say yes to them if you've been saying no in the past. You might even create more opportunities for yourself to be seen. And you might be sought out for more visibility. That could look like being the thought leader for the company that goes to a conference. I've had that happen to a lot of clients. It could be getting a promotion or getting a new job. I see that all the time. Most of my clients change jobs during or shortly after we work together. Can't guarantee it, but I just see it happen a lot. They get raises, or if you have your own business, you make more sales. Bottom line, you attract more people. My startup founders secure funding and their brand starts to take off because of how they're showing up. This is, the anxiety is just not an issue anymore. That's what I see after 6 months to a year. I talk to people and they're like, oh yeah, that anxiety. You're right. Like, it's just not, it's not there anymore. It's not an issue. And then they can focus on other things. And they're almost like, oh yeah, that old thing. Right? And thought leadership, I noticed, starts to come to the surface. Thought leadership. What I mean by thought leadership is, instead of just regurgitating information because you wanted to say the right thing, you start to have your own concept of things, your own ideas that you want to share, your own voice, right? That you start to be known for. What is my thought leadership? That's where it gets juicy. That's the next step. And this allows you to have so much more fun with public speaking. You actually look forward to it. You're like, this is an opportunity for me to share what I'm all about, what I'm excited about. Even if it's about your company and your job, it's not a personal thing or your personal brand, or it doesn't matter. Like, you are going to be more invested in what you're talking about, more connected to it. And those leadership opportunities start to flow. So I hope this helped you to reorientate to what it means to get out of your head, dropping the scripts, dropping the excessive rehearsing, and especially as an introverted woman, to know how to navigate your introversion. It's natural, right? It's who you are. You're going to navigate it in a different way than maybe others are, right? You're going to navigate it different than extroverts are. And that the public speaking trainings you might have gone to or are thinking about going to, how they might not be, just consider, they might not be a good fit for your nature. Thanks for listening. This has been She Speaks to Inspire with Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. I'm so glad you joined me. And I hope you got so much out of this episode. If you want to learn more about Speak to Inspire training programs and get inspired, head over to speaktoinspire.com or follow us on Instagram at She Speaks to Inspire. Never forget, the world needs your voice, and it's time for you to speak to inspire. See you in the next episode.